Greetings once more, and welcome back to Miss Wordsmith's library. This time I have a haunting and twisted tale that I'd like to share, just in time for Halloween, too. Which, by the way, before I forget, I do wish everyone a happy and very spooky Halloween. Well, sit back, relax, maybe have a cup of tea, and enjoy my little offering. I had no idea what happened there. All I knew is that I was alone. I couldn't remember anything before finding myself walking aimlessly down an empty street. I remembered passing a sign that probably told the name of the street, but I didn't really care to read it and just walked on. I was coming out of a daze, and even now, as I was fully aware, I still felt like I hadn't fully come out of it. I felt a thick fog in my mind, keeping everything just beyond my reach. I kept walking, hoping to find something, anything, a phone, a person, even something to eat, though I didn't really feel too hungry. How long has it been? How long have I been walking these desolate streets? I asked myself, unable to get a good sense of time. I hadn't seen another soul, living or dead, anywhere in this God-forsaken place. I hadn't even found anything remotely edible. But starving or dying of thirst didn't scare me. The fact that I hadn't felt hungry or thirsty, that I hadn't even felt a single hunger pang, that's what scared me. What the hell is going on here? What is happening to me? I screamed out, scared and frustrated. I still couldn't remember anything, and when I tried, I came to the terrifying realization that I couldn't even remember my own name, my address, phone number, even memories of my friends and family were faded beyond recognition. I kept walking the streets of this empty town. I took in my surroundings as I did, trying to figure out just where in the hell I was. It seemed like a quaint and picturesque little town, like the ones in old sitcoms and movies where nothing ever happens outside of the school dance or school sporting event, albeit with more garbage and debris piled up and not nearly as populated. And gloomy, very gloomy. At some point, I found a building with an open window and climbed inside. I called out for any sign of life, but no matter how loudly I yelled, there was no response. I looked around the dimly lit room. It was covered with a thick layer of dust and grime. I could barely make out a bed, nightstand, desk, and various other things one would expect to find in a bedroom. There was also a door at the other end of the room. I made my way across the room and opened the door. It creaked as it moved, protesting my disruption of its stillness. Dust particles illuminated by the beams of light protruding from cracks in broken and filthy windows swirled around as my eyes adjusted to the dim lighting. I cautiously crept around the building and examined my surroundings as I entered each room. There were signs of the life that once filled these crumbling walls. It was an apartment building with some rooms that were nearly intact, to the point of having dining tables set and old rotten food still sitting out as though the tenants just got up and walked out, while other rooms looked like they hadn't been lived in for decades. Eventually, I made my way out through a side door and left the building behind as I continued walking down the street I was now on. As I walked, I noticed that I passed the building I had just come from. At first, I thought I'd just made a wrong turn and circled back. But when I passed it again, I realized what was actually happening. I'd been walking in circles. Damn circles. Like the streets were on an infinite loop. When that hit me, I slumped down on a trash can. There's no way out of this place. I'm trapped. I felt warmth start bubbling up at my eyes, and I quickly fought it back. No, there's gotta be some way out of here. Some sort of salvation from this limbo. I spurred myself to keep on walking. refusing to let myself give in to whatever the hell was going on and keep looking for a way out, or at least some answers. After what felt like an eternity of walking, I finally found a ray of hope. I heard footsteps. I heard someone else out in the gloom of this ghost town. I ran toward the sound, hoping against all of my dying hopes that I would be saved from this nightmare. It wasn't long before he came into sight, a man who was carrying a gun and looked like he'd been through hell. Cuts and bloodstains were scattered over his body, and through tears and rips in his clothes, bandages could be seen. Despite whatever he'd been through, he looked strong and determined, and on his guard. I approached, calling out to him, grateful to find another living being in this accursed place. But as I drew near, he suddenly pointed his gun at me and fired. He missed at first, and I cried for him to stop, but that I wasn't a threat. But he kept firing, and when I tried to run, he gave chase. I couldn't outrun him, so I turned around, adrenaline pumping through my veins, and fought him for the gun. He ran out of ammunition and started to punch me, and I swung back. Eventually I collapsed, bleeding and exhausted. He ran off, and as I felt the warm liquid of life draining from my body, I turned my head and saw myself in the broken glass that lay beside a pile of overflowing garbage. What had I become? When had I become the twisted, grotesque thing in that reflection? Could that man have even understood the sounds that I had thought were words when I cried out to him? Just then, as my vision was fading, I saw another thing like me go darting past. I then realized what might have happened to the rest of the people of this ghost town. They might be like me, turned into something far worse than ghosts. He sat down on a bench and used his first aid kit to patch up the new wounds that thing had given him when it attacked. He took inventory and realized he needed to find more first aid and ammo before any more of the monsters lurking in the foggy town came at him. He found a baseball bat beside the bench and took it with him for protection. After resting a moment longer and checking his map of the town, he stood and gripped the bat tightly. Walking cautiously down the fog-filled street, this place would not get the best of him. He'd come this far and he wasn't about to stop now. He would not lose to Silent Hill and its horrors. Well, I certainly hope you all enjoyed that little tale. And now it's safe to say you all know a little something more about me and my interests, at least where video games are concerned. I don't think it was too surprising where that was going, although I do hope it provoked and inspired a little bit of serious thought amongst those familiar with the subject matter. Well, as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end, and thus our time together has once again drawn to a close. So, until next time,